Okay, you may go now.
Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're catching us from. I want to ask you this question. Do you ever think that you were meant for more than what you're doing? Now, I'm asking you because I want you to think twice about this. Many of us just go through our lives just doing. And it's that doing that we just don't get anywhere. You know, we go through our days, we don't think about it, we just do. But maybe it's time that we start to think of what we're actually doing. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Let's Get Real. Today we have a really great guest that we're going to be talking about that type of thing, and we'll go into more of it in a moment. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Glenda Kroll. I'm a life coach and a reinvention specialist, and I have my buddy here who is we've been coming to you live each Wednesday, Nicole Harvick.
Hello, my friend. How are you today?
We're doing really well today, and I am so grateful for everything that we have that we can share about ourselves and that we can help other people along on journeys as well.
Absolutely, me too. So I see a face popping in, Glenda. I think that's our guest.
Yes, he has just shown up, and I'm glad he is now here just at the perfect time. And you know what? Everything happens in the exact time that it's meant to. So allow me, ladies and gentlemen, on today's episode of Let's Get Real, we have the privilege of welcoming an extraordinary individual whose insights and experiences have the power to inspire us all. Joining us today is Craig Siegel, a dynamic thought leader, motivational speaker, and entrepreneur who's been making waves in the world of personal development and business. With his charismatic personality and a knack for connecting deep with people on much deeper levels, Craig has a captivated audience around the globe with his engaging talk and practical wisdom. He brings a fresh perspective to life's challenges, using his own journeys to illuminate the path of success, happiness, and personal growth. I'm not going to go into anything more because I don't want to waste any more time. He is the author of a brand new book, and it's Cultivating Lasting Symphony is a company that he has actually started, and we're going to be having him join us to talk about his new book, which is Reinvention Formula. Hello, Craig Siegel, and thank you for joining us today.
My goodness, what an introduction. Let's get real. Absolutely love it. There's no place in the world I'd rather be than with you two ladies right now. Let's have some fun. Let's get nuts.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about it. But I started this off before you had entered into it's, you know, feeling like there was always something more. Like, don't we all have this feeling we were meant for more? There's something calling to us, but we just keep on doing the same old because we get into these ruts in our life. We get into these stupid beliefs that we were only meant for something because somebody told us we shouldn't have, or we were not good enough, or whatever the case may be. How do we get past that one point that makes us play small?
First and foremost, understand that we have a choice, right? All the limiting beliefs that we've cultivated over time, the limitations, the unworthiness, which I believe is today's biggest virus, all that stuff is not real. We weren't born with them. Somewhere along the lines, we picked them up and started to invest in them. And I know there's some contrast because that was me for so long, 35 years to be exact. In the pandemic, right before I reinvented myself and totally pivoted, it occurred to me that I felt stuck. I wasn't actually stuck for so long because I was so invested in the current story, the current movie, if you will, that this would be it for me. I'm a Wall Street guy. I'd always be stressed out. I'd make a certain amount of money. I'd never find true love, all that stuff. When I got really quiet, and I believe mindfulness is the portal to expansion, and I started to block out that noise and interference, it occurred to me that I actually have a choice. I can choose to invest in a new story, a new movie, if you will. In fact, if this is my movie, then I could change the next scene. I could change the script. And that's when I started to put it together. And it occurred to me that for most people out there right now that know that they're here for something much, much more, then lean in. And also, please consider what I like to call the COI, the cost of inaction. What is the cost of you not playing bigger, identifying your purpose, your passions, and leaning into that? Yes, it could be scary, but I would have to predict that the cost of staying status quo and waking up one day with a ton of regret is far scarier than stepping into the unknown.
So many times I've heard people as they are on their last hurrah in the world, and they always seem to have the regrets of, I should have done this and I should have done that. And that is what made me make a lot of changes in my life, is because I believe that should haves are not there. They're part of life that we allow to enter in. We make those decisions. And my decision in part of my life was I'm not going to should myself to death.
Yes.
So it's an important factor of that. And I'm sure you had your should haves at that point in your life when you were just going into your daily.
You know what it is? And I love that you brought that up, because there are so many people that feel like they're here for more. And what I would say to them or your listeners right now is this: it's never too late and you're never too old. And why not you? And also, if you're not where you had hoped you'd been at this point in your life, I understand. Let's make a commitment right now to forgive yourself. It's okay. I too felt that way for a very long time. But living in depression of the past and anxiety of the future will get you nowhere fast. So if you're not where you had hoped that you'd be right now, forgive yourself. Done. All that matters in the world is what we do next. And what you do next is limitless if you lean in and choose a different story. And so I couldn't agree more. You have to let that go and become lighter and free. It's actually quite liberating. And then you can shift your energy and prioritize your focus on the most important thing, and that's the next season.
Yeah, that's really a good saying. And one of the things, how would you advise someone that not only is it never too late, you're never too old? How would you go about letting them understand that you can reinvent yourself at any time?
Yeah, I love this because first of all, I have people in my community that are 80 years old and now getting that spark, right? And somebody at 90 can feel more alive than somebody at 25. How? If you're excited, if you're enthusiastic, if you're passionate, if you have purpose in your life, right? And my dad is 87 years young and he's battling cancer right now and he's fighting, but he has so much to live for. He's so excited about what we're doing here, the book launch, and he loves my fiance and my brother, my best friend, has a son, so my dad's grandkid. He's so excited about life. He has every reason to live. And then there's other people that are 26 and they just are so lost in the wilderness and making poor choices and have no desire to get up in the morning, right? So for anyone at any age, it's just a number, right? It's really about what are you excited about? What do you want to do next? And I encourage everybody to create a life that really fulfills them and makes an impact. And obviously, unapologetically, makes a lot of money too.
Now that is great advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all have to learn that there's more to life. And if we go through life working just for the money, we're not going to find the actual happiness. It's got to be more involved than about the money.
Yeah, and just to be clear, money is a part of success, but no, definitely not the whole thing. And I know that because for years on Wall Street, I was making money, but I was miserable. And I was inauthentic, and I was showing up as what I thought the world wanted to see from me, but it wasn't really the true me. And so you absolutely nailed it. And that doesn't mean that you should follow your passion and make no money, right? You should want to be successful in all the areas: your career, your passions, fitness, relationships, your faith, your spirituality, and also financially as well.
And let's go on to the side, because I know that you're a big advocate of fitness, and so am I. And, you know, the belief of keeping your body strong and healthy to kind of ties into the reinvention segment. That's for as far as I see. I think if your body and your mind aren't strong, you're not going to make it and do anything in your life.
Yeah, I agree. You know, for me, I run marathons, and I just signed up for the New York City one, which is in
So,
November. And one of the reasons why I do that is because it's not so much the end result, although that's great to do well. It's who you become in the process, right? And when you're into fitness, and it doesn't mean that you have to run marathons, maybe you
yeah.
go for walks, or you're into yoga or weightlifting, whatever your thing is, it shows a level of discipline and commitment. And I would encourage everybody to have something, an outlet, an arena, if you will, to be a gladiator in. That's not only just your career, right? Where you can move your body and create those spiritual downloads and connect. And I just think it's so good for everybody. And like, you see people out, and I don't want to be judgmental, but like, you've seen people that are making a lot of money and all that, but they're extremely unhealthy and overweight. And like, that's not good, because we need you around, right? So what success is not is just dominating in one area. You want to be successful in all the areas, including fitness.
Well, because your body is your soul, it houses everything. And you know what? If we, here's the thing is, you know, last year I had a very bad accident, and the greatest part about it is I was in great shape before it. So I rebounded, considering from the doctors, incredibly fast. And the only reason is because my body was already strong. I already had a really strong mindset. So it allowed to whatever knocked me down, I was able to build myself back up. And I say that to everyone, especially people I coach as well, because, you know, you only get one chance. And if something knocks you down, you don't know if you're going to have that second chance of coming back.
Great point.
Right. So it's really about of loving this vessel that carries us. And then on top of it, when you are turning into reinventing your formula, right? That
right.
is what, you know, then you can start working at, because thank you. It's an incredible thing. So let's talk about your book. I'm so excited. I got it yesterday. I was listening to you and saying how you said it's coming out, and I opened this box, and voila, it showed up in Canada. So
Manifesting it.
Yeah.
how fabulous.
Yeah.
So I get a little bit of a head start, and I'm excited about it. But, you know, you're talking my language here, because, you know, Nicole and I, we are now, you know, I'm thrilled and very pleased to say my age. I'm 64 years young, and I got more energy than some 30-year-olds. And, you know, I reinvented myself a few times in my life, but in my 50s, my life went kaput, and I had to reinvent everything. So I get this, and I love this, and I want to encourage more and more people to be doing things out there that they can love in their life, because life is just too short. So let's talk about your reinvention formula of, you know, I've been watching your broadcasts and been going through. I wasn't able to join live last night, but it doesn't matter. I'm following through, and I'm following you. But there's so much great information, and I'm your biggest fan. So let's talk about this great book that you have put together.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I love the alignment right when we crossed paths. It was instant. And look, I didn't do everything right my whole life, not even close, specifically for 35 years. But one thing that I did very right was pivot and reinvent myself very successfully in what most people consider a very short amount of time. And so it wasn't just a split decision. It was years and years of studying personal development, revamping my mindset, neurolinguistic programming, Kabbalah, law of attraction, energy, emotional intelligence, all of it. And I use those skill sets to be successful in other areas, such as business and running and all that stuff. But then I finally put it all together and started my CLS brand. And for the first time in my life, I was in alignment. And that's why I like to say it doesn't take time. It just takes alignment. And so the point of this book, and the reason why I'm so passionate about it, is because it's not niche. It's not just for entrepreneurs or single moms or people in construction. It's for anyone and everyone that wants to play bigger and cancel playing small and identify clarity on your purpose. Step into that. remove limiting beliefs, replace them with more empowering thoughts, how to get that zest for life again, all of it. And it's in one vessel. And I've been working on this for so long. I finally just put it together into the Reinvention Formula. And I believe this is my assignment right now to share this with the world.
Wow. And it's so interesting, you coming from Wall Street talking this way, because you really don't, when you think of Wall Street and you think of the money and you think of Wolf of Wall Street, you don't hear a lot of spirituality or manifestation or alignment. So where did that come in? How did that first start for you?
Yeah. So I was studying personal development ever since I got to Wall Street, which is 15 years ago. But I was always a mindset guy through and through. Like, if I couldn't see it, I couldn't buy in. But then a couple of years back, and I talk about this in the book, I was at a big speaking engagement with our mutual friend, Glenda Kroll. And I actually got injured playing football on the beach with some of the employees. And I came back home and it was misdiagnosed as a sprained ligament. As it turns out, there was a tumor in my foot. And it caught me off guard. It was a crazy story. And I had to get surgery, came back benign, thank God. But I was out of commission for a couple of months and I was training for a marathon at the time. And all of a sudden I had a little bit of extra downtime, right? Because let's just say an hour a day I would typically utilize for fitness. I now had that hour back. And so I can only think of one thing to do with that hour. And that was to lean in to the spirituality, to the energy. And I reread a book that you guys are probably familiar with, The Secret, right? And it's funny how you can read a different book or watch a different movie at a different season of your life and have a totally different experience. And when I reread The Secret this time, I was available. And I started really buying in, understanding it's a vibrational universe, how to set your intentions, how to energetically tap into stuff, how to become a vibrational match for the abundance out there. And essentially I entered the quantum, if you will, and I never came out. And for the first time in my life, I'm having real life manifestations, and it's a beautiful thing. And so it's interesting because I know that life happens for us, not to us. And thank goodness I actually got injured so that I could have a little bit of extra downtime so I can really lean in, put my ego aside, and start learning more about the spirituality stuff in addition to the mindset stuff. And I'm very big on spirituality these days, but I think it's a little irresponsible to just say do nothing and call it all in. I like to marry the woo with the work, somewhere in between the spirituality and also the practical. And I did it. And I ended up running the New York City Marathon 2 months after that with no physical training, with a hole in my foot, the fastest I ever ran. And so I realized at the end of the day, we really are a soul having a human experience, right? This spirit inside of us. This is just a vessel. Obviously, your guys is better looking than mine. But you can tap into anything. We have limitless potential and so forth. And so I really got so excited and enthusiastic about studying all the spirituality. And ever since that moment, I have just become super spiritual. So you nailed it. This was something I had to develop after Wall Street.
That's a great story. And one of the things people have to realize, they talk about manifestation, but you're right, you have to take action in manifestation, because once the universe sees you doing that, they're just going to send you more of it.
Right. And what, like, law of attraction, like, what's the end of attraction? Action, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you have to meet it halfway, right? And one is not good without the other. Like, all practical and no spirituality can only get you so far, but all woo and no action can only get you so far. So somewhere in the middle, I like to call it kind of a mixture of like the masculine and the feminine energy. And feminine energy is something I'm really learning now. And maybe you guys disagree, I'd love to hear your thoughts. But when I think of the masculine energy, I think of like do, go, grind. But when I think of the feminine, I think of more like be and allow and call it in. So I'm learning how to marry that with the masculine. And for me, that's been a sweet spot.
Yeah. And that's really so important with all of us, that we have to learn as part of the balance within ourselves. I know at a certain time in my life, when I was working in corporate Canada and running an office, I was the male. I was, it was all about the numbers. It was all about production. It was all about everything. And it was at a point where, I didn't have that feelings of that a women need. a woman needs in her. And I think that's really part of what you're saying. The sweet spot is we need a little bit on both sides of us to balance us, male and female. It doesn't matter who we are.
Yeah, 100%. There's got
Yeah.
to be a mix and a blend.
Yeah. And one of the things I have been learning also is people talk about, trying to find their soulmate. And what I've learned is you have to be good within yourself. Your male and your female have to balance, as does the other person. Then you can go out and find your true love. You're not just the female, you are both. So you have to be aware of what's going on in the other person. Are they balanced as well?
100%. Yes. Alignment, right? Same frequency.
Alignment.
Right.
Yes.
So exactly. So you can't find true love and want this kind-hearted, good soul and all the rest if you're not. We have to sort of be who we want to attract.
That's it.
That's what people continuously think. I hear it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for my true love. I want him to be this, this, this. And I'm going, well, are you that? And, like if these are the qualities you want, then you have to start living that.
That's right.
How else do we attract?
Yes. And this is very relatable to me because for so long I was dating the same type of girl. I was like repeating a pattern.
Yeah.
And then when I pivoted, reinvented myself, it was really my whole identity. And I really started working on myself. And I wasn't looking for anything necessarily. I was just working on myself and building CLS. And that's when I met my fiance, not a coincidence. And I started to attract someone to the guy that I was becoming, not the past Craig. And she was totally different than anything I've ever dated. And rightfully so, because I'm different now. And that, after all these years, was the perfect match. So what you're saying speaks to my soul.
Congratulations. That's wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I will love to be watching and seeing how you're moving forward in that area. But let's go back now and go more into the book. I know you talk about a particular type of board, a mood board that you talk. Let's talk about a mood board of sort of helping people to manifest this.
Yes. And also, like, a lot of people come to me now because they want me to coach them in regards to building a personal brand, which is interesting because when I started CLS, I was just starting my brand, but I imagine so many people see all the success in a relatively short amount of time that now it's opportunistic to ask me how I did that. So I'm totally okay with giving it all back. And one of the ways that I encourage people to build a personal brand and start to get clarity because they don't know how to do that, or even if it's just a vision for life, is to create a mood board. And I imagine some of your listeners are like, what the hell is a mood board? Let me explain.
Right.
And so a mood board is like basically like a canvas or a wall, and start throwing like stuff on there that you're passionate about, whether it be a magazine or the internet. Just start throwing stuff on there that you like, colors, different energies and frequencies and pictures and so forth. And it will start to tell a story. And if it's your personal brand, all of a sudden something will take shape and you realize, oh, that's me right there, very fiery, or I love those colors. And it'll begin to tell a story in itself. And so whether you're building a personal brand or you just want a vision board for life and you want to start setting big, audacious goals, it's great to have a mood board or a vision board and something to excite you so you could start setting your intentions, putting yourself out there. And then, as I like to say, you marry the process, you divorce the outcome. So you have this mood board now, you have the vision board, you have cool, sexy things on it that you're interested in, but then divorce from that and then start doing the work one day at a time, and it begins to compound. But you need to have those targets, right? Because you can't hit a target that you can't see. But you don't want it so bad that you actually create resistance because you fear not having it. So you set the intentions and then you divorce from that and then you just get to work.
And it's because the one aspect of life that pulls us back from a lot of things is fear.
Yes.
How do we get fear?
Yeah. I was talking about this today on my community call with my audience and so forth. Fear isn't real. Right? It's what you make of it. And what I would encourage people to actually fear is not taking action and living status quo or living with mediocrity or waking up with regrets. And so for me, when I got quiet in the pandemic, was it scary to step into something totally new? Sure. I had no following, no celebrity friends, none of that. But for me personally, it was so much scarier to choose to go back after lockdown and be miserable. To me, I made it so real for myself that I actually associated that with death. And because I did that, now the choice to step into the unknown the scariness and fear of that transformed into excitement, because I already decided that the scariest thing I could do is not take any risks and keep doing what I'm doing and underachieving and being unfulfilled. And so if you're going to fear anything, fear lack of growth, not spreading your wings, not fulfilling your assignment, not finding out why you're here, not making an impact. That's what you should fear, in my opinion.
And I agree with you. You know, for me, at one point in my life, it was staying in a relationship with somebody who wasn't being faithful and putting my life and my children's life in jeopardy. That was the fear of stepping out. And sometimes we, you know, now what I've said to you, Craig, and I am going to put myself out there is sharing stories, which becoming more vulnerable. And the vulnerability is what I love about you. So you have been sharing a lot of things about yourself and putting yourself out there. And you know, you're not afraid that, you know, this will come back to you in any way. Explain that to people like me who have held myself back because, you know, I don't know, maybe it's part of feeling that maybe somebody will judge me. Oh.
Yeah, and spoiler alert, as you continue to put yourself out there and do some really big epic stuff in the world, you're not going to be for everybody, and you shouldn't even want to be.
No.
And if you want to be great and do the best job that you can, I think you have to make peace with the fact that you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea or glass of whiskey, whatever your poison is.
Martini.
Yeah, hell yeah, love that. And that's okay.
Fresh squeezed juice for me, but you know, that's the spiritual thing.
I love it. And the truth of the matter is when you're authentic, you stand for something. And when you stand for something, you're not for everybody. And that's good, because the right people will gravitate towards you that are in your frequency, and life will create this true authentic filter, and the wrong people will go elsewhere. And that's a great thing. So look, it would be irresponsible for me to tell you, don't care what anybody thinks, because as humans, we're actually wired to care what people think. But I would encourage you to be strategic, intentional, care what the right people think of you. Everyone else, like trolls or haters on social media or people that might judge you, they're not for you, and that's okay. But you can't live based upon the expectations of others, right? So you do the best that you absolutely can. You put yourself out there and understand that you're not going to be for everybody, and you shouldn't even want to be.
Very true. So, you know, give us, I know because you have very limited time with us, and I'm very cognizant of that factor. Can you give us a little bit of a blurb in your book? What is one of the key points that you feel that could help others?
Yes. I think that something really cool in the book that I talk about is gaining clarity. And a lot of people want to do big epic stuff, but they just don't know where to start. They don't know what to do. Like, where do I go? How do I pivot? And a lot of people talk about all the success in life, but certain books that I see, they're missing like the how. But how do we pivot? How do we get there? How do we remove limitations? How do we think bigger? How do we find out what we're passionate about? And that's something that I really talk about. And the easiest thing to say to that is, for anyone listening right now, 3 words: why not you? There's no good reason as to why you can't make the massive impact, make the money, and have the relationships and all that. But let's dive a little bit deeper. What are some actual tangible strategies that you could apply immediately to start gaining some clarity? Because once you have clarity, you're more likely to take inspired action. And I just want to be clear. I don't think you should not take action if you don't have clarity, because I'm a big believer in that clarity follows action. You got to get in the damn arena and then things come to you. But it's always nice to be able to have a vision and to be able to have direction. And one of the things I talk about in the book is a very tangible strategy on how to start to cultivate clarity. And so far, the feedback in regards to that has been off the charts.
Beautiful. Well, I am so looking forward to learning about more. As like I said, I just received this yesterday in the mail, and I haven't had time yet to dig my teeth into it and sit up and, you know, curl up with a wonderful book. And I'm excited to learn more about it and to connect more often with you, because as I said, you're talking my thing, man.
I feel the same about you. Straight up.
You
Both.
did?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, I
And
would love
I guess I will be reading the book next week because I'm getting on Amazon right after this and ordering it.
Good, good. I love it.
And for those who are looking and are wondering as they're listening to Craig talk, and I just skimmed through it gently, but who are interested in reading and finding out more about it, there is a link below the video that has ways to contact Craig, and also a link to buy the book from Amazon. So, don't hesitate. This is everything that you do in life, whether it's your mindset, whether it's your body, whether it's what you read. It's not about the price tag that is on anything. Let's talk about being really real about life. It's about investing in yourself. What do you do to build yourself? What do you do to build yourself smarter, stronger, happier? It's all about you. So the most important thing in our lives that we can do is to invest in us.
Yes, you speak of my language now, and I couldn't agree more. And everybody, like we talked a little bit earlier about being physically fit, but the most important thing that you can do is stay mentally fit.
Yes.
Starts by reading a good book, maybe the Reinvention Formula, listening to you ladies, and consuming great content, and being around people that are playing bigger. It's contagious, and you got to make an effort for that. It's a never-ending job.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Craig, for coming on today and joining us, and for talking about your book. And we're excited, and I really appreciate the time that you've given us today. And for those who really want to learn more about it, go onto social media and follow Craig, and you'll see what this is all about. And of course, as for me and Nicole, we're both on the same level, on the same playing field. We're looking to up-level other people. Part of what Let's Get Real is to encourage other people to build themselves up. We all have falls, and we all have times when we tumble. But the secret is, how long do you stay down? The secret is having the resilience to get up and keep on going, no matter what.
That's it. I love it. Thank you, ladies, so much for having me.
Thank you. It was a pleasure meeting you. I can't wait to read your book.
Likewise, I'm looking forward to connecting with you further.
Perfect. I would love that.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye. Okay.
So we had an incredible man that has just joined us. And when I met him, from the moment we met, he totally inspired me because he's speaking my language.
He certainly is, my dear.
And
but
I knew
really, both of us.
Yes.
I know that's your field. But how many times have you and I sat there and talked about how often we've been reinvented ourselves through fear, through need, through want, through everything. And like he says, anybody can do it at any given moment, at any age. The story about his father, he's so excited to be alive, and that's the key. That's the key is excitement, not fear.
The fact is, in some respects, we got to feel the fear. Like I believe that, there's been so many times in life where I've been afraid, like really afraid of doing something, afraid of what if I don't make it? What will other people say? And all these other things. But there's times where, you just can't hold yourself down. You just got to get up and just do it anyways. Feel the fear, but go on and do it.
Step over it.
Right. So, I always say as a coach, how I help people through fear is by looking back at your accomplishments, looking back at the things that you were fearful of and that you did, and you actually turned around and you had a celebration of what you've been able to accomplish. When you can do that and you start even, go through it and put yourself in making a list, you can do this on a journal as well, but start listing all the things that you have accomplished when you've been fearful. And that gives you some momentum to go on and keep on going.
Yes, absolutely. And the biggest thing for me was being the fear of getting divorced to a man who I had, by that point, nothing in common with, no respect for, no desire for. And it took a lot of strength to step over that line. And when I did it, and you look back and you're like, why did I wait so long? What was I afraid of? Why didn't I do this sooner? And those are the what ifs. And we have to kind of sweep those aside as to not get caught in them, but looking at ourselves and what we overcame to get to where we are today, Glenda. There was a lot.
There is totally a lot. And sometimes, let's get real, sometimes life does bite us in the ass. I went through my divorce. I turned around and, I jumped out when I should have done more preparation, but didn't know any better at that point in time, and was broke and had a really hard time trying to get money or find money just to feed my children.
Yeah.
And when, at that point, I kept thinking, I should have stayed. I would have been miserable, but I should have stayed. At least I wouldn't have the worry that I was living with. But having the thing in is saying to yourself, somehow, some way, I will get through this. Somehow, some way, I will make it through. And I did. And that's the encouragement that I give people is, we got to stop looking at the book that's closed and start looking at, if we can look at it in a different way, because then we can start looking at the opportunities that surround us.
Right. No, I agree with that totally. And after going through that divorce with the fear that was attached to that, things became so much less fearful. It's like, well, gosh, if I can do that, I can surely do this, or I can do that. Or, you know what, if it doesn't work one way, it's teaching me how to work it a different way. There's no failure. There's only feedback. And once I learned that, I'm like, but everybody makes mistakes. That's just part of our learning curve. And when and another thing I always tell people is you'd be surprised how little people think of you. They'll say something, they'll see you, and then you're out of their mind. They're not dwelling on your failures. It just doesn't work that way. So, don't be afraid to do that. That's even more reason to step up, to learn, and to have it go your way the next time.
And just what you said about the learning, it's so huge because, I'll tell you a funny story. Many years ago, I bought this property. I got it into my head that I wanted to get involved in real estate. And so I started taking courses to be an investor. I didn't want to become a realtor. I wanted to invest in properties and change them into their highest and best use. But here's the thing, I jumped into a couple of things because, I'm a bit of a risk taker. And in those years, I was a little younger, and I didn't think a lot of things through. So I jumped into it. And at one point, I jumped into 2 properties at one time, which was not the thing to do. But anyways, and because I couldn't focus on one at a time because both were having work that was done, and I needed to have my eyes around on projects. But I ended up hiring the wrong contractor.
Mm.
Me an arm and a leg. It cost me a feeling I spent a lot of time beating myself up about it, but it was probably one of the greatest learning expenses of my life. And I say expenses because, yes, it cost me probably double the amount that I anticipated at the beginning when I first started, and I had priced out the jobs that needed to be done. But what I learned from it, the wisdom that I gained from it, was huge. Now, I was fortunate enough, and I didn't listen to everybody else who told me to just get rid of the property and take my losses, because I'm not one that I would accept that. I persevered it and ended up doing really well by it. And down the road, I think I made 6 times my money from when I did it. So I did very well. But what I'm trying to say is, sometimes we do get into things, and yes, they can be, really a sore point in our lives. But just look at what you can obtain from that, the wisdom that you can obtain, whether it's the people, like learning more about how to look at people. And remember, when people show you and talk to you in certain ways, watch what they're saying, watch their body language, because you know what? People show you who they are.
Oh, all the time. All the time. And,
Oh,
and it's easy to pick up on now because I have been around people like that. And it's even their tone of voice will change.
their eye contact. These are the things that we all have to learn in life, that it's all, we say that a lot of times we end up marrying the same people, or we put ourselves around those. But when we start to become more aware of how people talk to you, how they, are they talking because they're very egocentrical and they're always about themselves? Are they talking about ways that they can help you? Or maybe they're just being a little quiet and listening. Right?
Yes. And think about that. If we listened more and talked less, our capabilities would be huge. And I'm really big about that now, and I've learned a lot, but I can always learn more.
Well, I think I will continue to learn and work on myself till the day I'm gone.
Me too. I agree.
I believe that life is about building yourself up constantly. And as I go through, here's the thing, you just never know even who your teachers are. So even at this point in my life, I could be watching a child and I will find something that that child is doing or saying that would be an incredible lesson for myself. So
Mhm.
really being open-minded, allowing, to just listen and to watch and to not be judgmental is a huge lesson in life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as we raise our vibration, like Craig was talking about, and as we become good with ourselves and our frequency rises, he's right. Certain people are going to organically go away, and some are going to come in on the opposite side. And what you're going to find is the people that you were, and it happened to me, that I was hanging out with, I just didn't resonate with anymore, because when you're in a different vibration, there comes a time where you really don't want to go out and be around loud music or drunk people. And I'm not saying not to drink, because that's your choice. But for me, I became different. I became different.
Well, because you start to find out once you start working on yourself more, like I believe you really start to find out about yourself. You look at what you will accept and what are non-negotiables in life. And I think that's
Yes.
part of the thing that I really recommend is you go through, and as you start looking at your values, which is one of the important lessons that I work with people with, is to figure out what their values are, but you also have to figure out what your non-negotiables are. What things don't you
Yes.
want in your
Very
life that
true.
what type of people don't you want in your life? What type of situations, what boundaries will you always set because you know your worth?
Yes, finally, right? Finally. And I liked one of the things Craig said about he had a tendency to pull in the same people every time too, as did I. I just didn't know it, that I was bringing that energy towards me. And once you realize that they're responding to your vibration, your frequency, your resonance, you're like, boy, I got to change that stuff because this is not working for me.
So my question is to people that are out here watching, do you have non-negotiables? Do you have things that you say, you know what, somebody does something to you and you just say, you know, just stop right there, no way? I think that's an important quality in life that you must have for your own self. And I call that I put that under self respect.
Yes. Yes. And self-love. If you love yourself enough, you are not going to cave. You are not going to do those things, or you're not going to respond to that. Once you understand your worth, once you love yourself, there becomes a lot of non-negotiables, actually. I know there did for me anyway, because I don't have to please those people. I have to live with myself and please me. And that's not arrogant. That's just
Yeah.
self-care. That's just self-care, is honoring the you that you are becoming or have become, that will no longer tolerate that.
So part of life really in my estimation, at this point in my life, is the fact of finding enough time in our world. And we live in a very busy world nowadays, and we're so busy being on the phone and the computer and all the best, is we need to have time where we can actually have that time when we can allow the thoughts to come in, to be with ourselves. And I believe that is all so much part of self-love, because if we get so caught up with, it's like being in a traffic jam with the horns honking,
Yeah.
to live in that part of life. But if we can stop and do something, go into Mother Nature, start looking at what your values in your life are, what makes you happy, like beyond happy.
And it's so interesting because as we've been conditioned just the opposite, work hard, head down, play hard, and it doesn't have to be hard. And your body will tell you what you need, and your mind, when you connect to nature or you connect to the universe, will tell you who you are and what you need to be doing. But we just don't take the time to listen. We don't silence ourselves enough. And there's so much power in silence. There's so much power in it. And all you have to do is listen. All you have to do is listen.
And that's a bit of a talent.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, because we have that in yoga, we call it monkey mind, that just keeps chattering. And you have to well, is that real? Is this real? Is that, what is this? But as you spend time alone, as you spend time in silence and or meditating or yoga or whatever calms your body and gets you out of that fight or flight, that's when you're going to start understanding and what you're hearing or being told, because it can be either way, it's going to start resonating with you. You're going to, instead of thinking about it, start feeling it. What does that feel like for you? How does that feel? Does that make you feel good or bad? If it makes you feel bad, that's not for you. If it makes you feel good, even if you've never done it before, that's what you've been missing in your life. Maybe you should have been doing it, but just didn't know to do it. So there's a lot of little tips and tricks in learning to be you.
So, my friend, you are very much a meditation expert. And for people that are just starting out in the meditation, and I hear so often about people saying, well, I'm not good at it. Let's give some people a little bit of understanding of, if they're just beginning, of how to sort of ease into it.
And in the beginning, none of us are good at it, because we've been so conditioned to keep going, so conditioned to not listen, because we've got that chatter going all day long. And it's just that inner chatter that just, it affects you. It stops you. It keeps you from knowing who you really are. And what I started doing is I started putting on, maybe there are actually 5 or 10 minute meditations that you can find on YouTube. They're very, very short. And so you don't have to start with an hour. Now I can do an hour now, no problem, because you start relaxing your body, but start with just a 5-7 minute meditation. That's all you really need to start. And what you're going to do is, when your mind starts wandering, you're going to start using your breath. Your breath will calm you down every time. And you're just going to, as you're finding yourself drifting away from meditation, you're just going to breathe in 1, 2, hold 1, 2, and release 1, 2. And you're going to find your body sometimes is very, very stiff. When you breathe, that's also going to relax your mind and your body. So you're helping 2 parts of yourself. And when you can start sinking in to your comfort zone, to where you feel good, and just let that breath flow like that, and get that in sync with what you're doing, you're going to find it much, much easier. Because sometimes I'll go into my yoga class and I'll be like, man, I got to mail this letter. I got to get gas. I got to get home. I forgot to do that email. I mean, it'll just be like, I'm like, no, you're here. You are here now in this room. Be present. You've got to be present. That stuff can come later. And any place for you.
But even little things like When you're like, I'm a walker. So part of times, like I do an actual meditation of sitting and actually sitting down there and blanking my mind, but I can do it walking. When I get into my movement, um, I don't use anything in my ears, and I through my breathing can start my walking, and I get into a pace where I become almost robotic. And it's what I love about it is that's when I empty my mind. And
Yes. Wow.
I
The
just
bridging
allow,
power.
and things come to me during that time. Like I have a lot of things that will come during that. You know, I go for an hour walk. There'll be things that will come to me of what I should be doing, or ideas or opportunities, things that you don't even think of because your mind is too busy. So
Right.
you know, as far as whether it's your business, whether it's your own personal life, everything, when you get quiet, it changes everything.
Hmm.
Now, I don't understand, but a lot of times when I get into the shower, I get huge downloads. Why?
Water carries memory. Water because of its molecular structure. And so it can give you ideas because it's connected to you through molecules and your molecules. So when you get in that shower, it's pretty amazing because it feels so good and it relaxes you that your mind does shut off for a few minutes. And so your higher self is working with the universe, connecting your mind to the one consciousness. And everything that's ever been invented, everything that is out there right now, any idea that you get, it's all out there. It's just kind of who grabs it first and puts it into action. But you will get you will get your best cleansings, but you will also get your best ideas anytime you're around water or you're showering. It's like they're just pouring into you these ideas or these thoughts, and you're like, well, where did that come from? It's because water's alive.
Okay. I always wondered, but I always took it. Listen, I'll take any help I can get. And I love that. So come on,
Mhm.
universe, bring it in, baby.
And there's your action. You're taking action. You're asking for it. However it comes through you, it doesn't matter. It can be just while you're grounding your feet in grass. It can be while you're drinking water. Shower is lovely to get ideas, but everything that is Mother Earth. And that's what she's here for, is to assist us if we let her. And when we ground ourselves into the earth, as above, so below, we're connecting to the one mind through the grounding of the earth. So it's really a spectacular thing. And I would tell everyone, use it to your advantage, because they want to help you, whether it's your guides, whether it's your spirits, whether it's ascended masters. Everyone is up there working with you. And all you have to do is ask for them to come into your life and help you. And they will.
It's true. I've had a lot of wonderful, crazy things in my life that has happened about manifesting that actually turned into that. But let's face it, you know, it like The Secret. You can't just wish upon a lucky star and
Mm-mm.
it's going to come in. It's doing the work to help it come in.
Yeah, and that was one of kind of the flaws that I've seen with people in manifesting, is they think, and you do have to envision what you're doing. You have to envision it as already happening. But as you're envisioning it already happening, you have to take the action like you're already doing it. And that's where everybody kind of gets hung up.
So it's like what Craig had mentioned, and I've already been an advocate of that. He called it a mood board.
Mhm.
I've always done vision boards, and for years I was even doing them with clients, and I will still do from time to time. But it's coming out of what is the things that bring you joy. What are the things that makes you start to and what people think is silly, but we all need to daydream a little.
Oh, yes. Because what you're daydreaming is coming from someplace also. And if it's a daydream, it's usually very, very pleasant and you want to act on that. So let that come to you and let that flow through you. And then if that feels right inside your body, take action to make it happen. The universe will connect with you and it will come in to help you out. So daydreaming is super important.
And, the other part is we'll tell everybody is, the important part is write all these things down. Don't let them just go in and out. It's, I have a book here, and I take it with me for all sorts of things, because I make notes in these books. It's the things that come to mind, the things that I dream of, or that I envision myself doing, or thoughts how I can do it, or an opportunity comes in. Write it down,
Right.
because we will not keep this all in our minds. The whole thing is when you write it down, that's the start of making it become real.
Right. Two things, putting it in writing and stating it, verbally stating it. I will, I am, I can, those positive words in front of it. And that's how it all starts, is with, even your words are action. Writing is an action.
Your
So
words
it
are
all, words are spells. We have to remember that, it's called spelling for a reason. So, we have to be very careful with our words. We can hurt, we can heal, but all of it is a spell being stated out loud. So be cautious with what you're saying and or thinking.
Wow, today was a very powerful day, and I really appreciate, Nicole, you coming along with me on this ride. This last ride that's lasted over a year has been
Woo!
very humbling, and I am so grateful for you, my dear, and for the wonderful people that we have attracted. And first of all, I want to just put it out again before we finish up. Thank you, Craig Siegel, for coming today for the first 30 minutes of the show, for giving us your wisdom, and for sharing so much information. And, for Nicole, what can you put together for our show today? What were some of the golden nuggets that you want to share?
There's been so much shared today that's so true. But I think the one thing that I would put out there is to know how special you are. Everyone needs to understand how important they are and how special they are, and to go out there and look around. And if you're not happy with yourself, just start thinking about, who am I? What would I love to do? And how do I make that happen? And just take that first step, because that can be daunting, that can be scary. But the minute you step over that line of fear, which we all have, you're stepping into magic. And the magic that comes with that is what is amazing. And we can all do it, like all of us have said today, at any given moment, at any age, at any time. So becoming you is the most important thing you can do for yourself.
That's right. And if you need a little help, that's what, you get somebody who's doing what you looking to do, and to get that expert advice. Like I say, the most important thing to remember is that we all have to invest in ourselves. And it's really is not a waste of money. It's the one important thing more than anything else is you. So anything that can help you to build yourself up and to build yourself to move forward is the key. I want to thank you, everybody, for listening today. And if you know anybody that this show could have helped them with in some ways, maybe something that's holding them back, and you think that they could have done more, don't forget, share us, love us, and you can subscribe to us as well. We're on YouTube. I look forward to next week when we come back, and let's get real. Thank you, Nicole.
Beautiful, Glenda.